Test 1, 2, 3. Recording in progress.
Calling today's meeting to order. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Right hand over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You're like, hurry, how the heck are they running?
This meeting is being held virtually and in person, so I would do a roll call of all trustees to confirm attendance. Ms. Martin?
Here.
Ms. Martinez? Ms. Mee?
Yeah.
Ms. Mee, can you publicly disclose whether any other individuals 18 years of age or older are present in the room with you?
Nobody, just by myself.
Okay, Ms. Durazo?
Present.
Mr. Green will be here later. Mr. Moore?
I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Moore, can you publicly disclose whether any other individuals 18 years of age or older are present with you in the room?
No one else is here.
Okay, and McGinzburg.
Here.
Okay. Staff participating in the meeting include Assistant Executive Officers JJ Popowich and Laura Guglielmo, Chief Audit Executive Richard Bendel, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Senior Staff Counsel Allison Barrett. Internal audit staff include Richard Bendel, Leisha Collins, Nathan Amick, Gabriel Tafoya, Christina Sun, Christian Velasco, Delfino Aguilar, Alex Ochoa, and all division managers. Consultants, Christian Rogers, Brittany Smith, and Mike Neiman. From Clifton Larson Allen, Acre Consultant Larry Jensen. Trustees, please use your hand Zoom option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mics until you're ready to speak, and now we may proceed with the agenda. Ms. Martin.
Thank you. We're going to hold off on the approval of the minutes till we have a quorum. Public comment? Okay.
No public comment at this time.
Thank you. So we will now move to non-consent items and turn it over. Oh, I'm sorry, Christina Sun.
Okay.
Apologize.
Good morning, Chair Martin and trustees. Today, I'm here presenting staff's work on the financial auditor RFP process, including the search process, evaluation outcome, and our recommendation. Next slide, please. The purpose of this RFP search aligns with LACERA's strategic focus on fiscal durability.
Chair Martin.
Yes.
Since we don't have a quorum and this is an action item, I think it's for the chair to consider whether this item should proceed now or should wait until you have a physical quorum in the room, because no action can be taken until we have 4 people in the room.
Let's wait for a physical quorum.
Okay.
Thank you. Reports. Yes, yeah, there's another item. We can go into reports. So first report presentation is internal audit annual performance report. And I'm going to turn it over to Nathan.
First up on the chopping block, I thought I had a little bit of time. But here we are. Good morning, Chair Martin and trustees. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Today I have for us the internal audit annual performance review. And this is intended to provide a status report on our progress regarding our 2025 audit plan, which you can find in page 3 of your memo, as well as our internal audit divisional goals. Dale, will you skip to the slide with our org chart? One more, please. So as of July 1st, internal audit is fully staffed. We have all 11 positions filled. We have a diverse team whose experiences and certifications provide a broad skill set to meet the needs of the organization. We have various certifications, including CPA, CIA, CFEs, and CISAs. I could have thrown another one in there and nobody would have known that I made it up. But public auditors, certified internal auditors, fraud examiners, information systems auditors, certifications. Next slide, please. So the first thing I want to discuss is our performance on the audit plan. Next slide. So as of June 30, we had 32 projects total. We completed 23 audit engagements, achieving a 72% completion rate. That is below our target rate of 80%. We're less than happy about that. We would have much preferred to reach our 80% goal. However, we remain proud of the work that we performed. We worked dutifully and diligent, and I would like to think that we served the organization and its stakeholders with impactful engagements throughout the year.
Let me add some color to that. The requirement for the 80% is actually a best practice from the IIA, Institute of Internal Audit Standards, and it's actually gone up to 85% this year. So it's a big achievement to it, but also, you know, a couple of reasons why we didn't hit the 80% this year. It was 80% for this year is not to make excuses. I think if you look at page 3 of the presentation, the actual shows the work that was done. Page 3 of the memo, you can see all the green on that chart. A tremendous amount of work was done by the team, and I commend the team for all their hard work. The way that we measure the percentage completed is by work actually in the can, completed, report issued. Of the 6 projects in progress, they are more than half complete, but we don't give ourselves partial credit. If we gave ourselves partial credit, we would be at that 80%, but we haven't done that, so we're not going to do it now, just to get, you know, try and maintain our integrity. But once those projects are complete, I believe within the next month we should be at about 90%. So a couple things that impacted the ability to achieve it this year. We got the new staff. We have all 3 new staff on board. We didn't quite get them on board as soon as we thought we were going to. 2 of them joined us, the 2 seniors joined us in February rather than January 1st, and then Alex joined us on July 1st. But they've hit the ground running. They're orientated and oriented. I'm not sure which one. Orientated. Anyway, they're up to speed and hitting the ground running. So we're confident that you know, they're contributing to our success. And so just wanted to put that in perspective. You know, that we normally do hit the 80%. This year we came up a little short.
So as Richard said, we do have 6 projects still in progress. We're looking to complete them in the next 30 to 60 days. And we do have 3 projects that we won't be addressing in this current, or pardon me, in the 2025 audit plan, but they'll be rolling over and have become part of the 2026 audit plan. Next slide, please. So this slide shows you where we spent, or how we spent our time with regards to the type of engagements. As you can see here, approximately 50% of our time was spent on independent assurance engagements, while the other half was equally split between our advisory roles, that being both formal and informal. And then the last chunk there, that are the essential internal audit operational duties that we need to perform throughout the year. Next slide, please. So this is where in the organization we spent our time. Excluding the organizational-wide projects, the gray bar there, we performed at least 1 audit and oftentimes multiple audits in 10 different LACERA divisions. So we had a wide spectrum of areas that we did cover throughout the organization. Next slide, please. And these are the outstanding projects that we have not completed or addressed as of June 30. As we mentioned before, we have 6 of them that are currently in progress. You can see them here. The bottom third of the slide shows the 3 carry forward projects. And we also have 1 project that will not be performed, it is going to roll off the audit plan, that being the death claims process audit. And we did bring that to your attention at the last meeting. It is going through some revamping and some evolutions. So thought we would let them redo their process and then audit it after the fact. Next slide.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. On that slide there, the investment custodial roles and responsibilities says pause. Can you just explain to the committee what that means?
Yeah, so we absolutely, we started that project. We got into the planning phase, and we kind of took a look at the projects that we had going on, and we thought that we needed to kind of prioritize our time in order to complete some projects. So we just took a step back from that project.
Well, and also we're as part of the hiring of the financial audit firm. I think there's a project related to that, which is going to touch on that. So we wanted to leverage the work of the external financial auditor in that area. So that is one of the reasons that we paused it as well.
Okay, so it's not carried forward, it won't be completed, but it'll be rolled into the work during the transition period there?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So yes, just to reiterate, we currently stopped working on that, but when the time permits, we will engage that project again and finish it. Next slide, please. Richard, do you want to take this one?
So on enterprise risk management, last year's plan, or this year, the plan that we're reporting on here, we actually had, our goal was to develop the charter for the ERM program, update the ACA charter, develop the structure and framework of the ERM program. As reported to you at the June meeting, we didn't end up doing that, but this slide shows you the work that we did do in relation to ERM during the year. I and the two other managers in the office all attended the COSO Enterprise Risk Management Framework training and got certified in ERM, in the ERM certificate through COSO. We actively participate on the Ethics and Compliance Committee, reviewing and discussing policies. I think the policy management there, I wouldn't say we steered the development, we partnered in the development. Christina actually partnered with Bonnie on the development and implementation of the Compass library and LACERA's Library of Policies and Procedures. And then, let's see. Yeah, I participated in board and committee meetings in support of the compliance. We supported the compliance side of things as well, the other pillar. So one of the things that we have on the plan for this year, what we plan to do in relation to my initial comments here, is that we're going to be working on developing that risk register and the aligned assurance model, and hiring of a consultant to work with us during this first quarter. We'll be hiring a consultant to then progress towards developing the ERM charter and what was on the goals for last year.
What's the goal for that? For doing those 3 steps? A year? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's to be determined by the consultant and working with the
Okay.
consultants. I think it's that'll be to be determined and reported back to you. Any questions on ERM? Otherwise, I'll pass it back to Nate.
Next slide, please. And this slide shows a line of ants marching to, no, and I apologize about the readability of this slide. It is difficult to read. It is hard to get all the information on one slide. But what this is the ACRE committee calendar. On the left-hand side, it shows all of your chartered responsibilities as noted in your charter. And on the right-hand side, we show you when and where we've brought the information to you so that you could perform your chartered responsibilities. Now, if you can't read it, you could take my word that we did bring all of your required items to you for the fiscal year. Next slide, please. Next, we're going to talk about internal audits divisional goals. We had 3 goals in total. Each one had multiple components. And next slide, please. So our first goal was to develop and execute a risk-based audit plan. The first component was the 80% completion rate. I believe we touched on that already a little bit. we fell a little bit short, but we did complete our annual risk assessment, and we did spend 70% of our time on direct engagements, which met our two other milestones. Next slide, please. So goal number 2 was to continue to improve internal audit's presence and value with key stakeholders. Goals A and B, we met our mark, and that really related to providing education at the MAC meetings as well as to this AGR committee. We did bring 3 training sessions to the AGR committee, one in September of 2024, one in March of 2025, and one in April of 2025. Goal C is in relation to the ERM that Richard just spoke on. And as he said, we're taking a bit of a pivot on what we've done. We're creating a risk register, creating an aligned assurance model, and looking in the near future to get a consultant. So we didn't complete as much as we'd like to, but we think our new phase will help us really drive the process forward. The last area was to receive an 80% of hire on all surveys, that being from the committee, from our auditees, and from the executive office. We did not have any surveys from auditees, and that's really just because some of the projects that we didn't really tie to the survey that we have as written, kind of fell out of scope. But we did receive surveys from both this committee as well as the executive office. The committee was tough on us. They only gave us a 75. I would like to talk about the condensed scoring of 1 to 4, which mathematically makes it very hard to get an 80, but we did receive a 91 from the audit or from the executive office. So again, we strive to meet those 80%. We strive to serve this committee, the executive office, and our auditees.
And I think this committee is committed to giving you as much feedback as we can.
No,
And so you have an understanding as we go through, this new year. I'm sure your score will change.
I also think we should change the metric from 1 to 5 instead of 1 to 4.
Yeah, I think
Have a
Because
problem with that.
everybody would have to give us a 4 perfect in order for us to balance out to that 80, and we were not perfect. So
Yeah, understood.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and the next slide, please.
Chair, may I say something? Chair Martin? This is Nicole. I'm in the virtual world.
Yeah, please go.
Thank you. If you go back to the early slide, I just want to make a comment. So in regard the serving from the committee, ECO committee, I will have to say that this is my 2nd year on the committee. I didn't know anything about audit before that, have 0 experience as an engineer background, right? And it took me some time, the 2nd year to really go into versus the understanding of the line of work. And also from there, once they learn more and more about it and learn more about the team of work, also growing my appreciation of the line of work. And this is really important. What you do is the integrity, of the whole organization. So I just want to say that, I appreciate the work that you do. I don't remember what the score that I did, but bear with me. I learned to appreciate your work a lot more, as I sit on this committee, serve on longer. So thank you. Don't take that 75% to be too harsh on yourself. All right, we'll get there. Be patient with us and continue to educate us. We'll get there and then continue to support your work. Back to the goal earlier, you talked about the 80%, 75% completion, right? 72% completion, why the 80% is a target. I want to say that for the 6 case that you're doing in progress, if you count the 6 case as half a complete, and then you perfectly meet the 80% goal as well. Just my interpretation.
Yes.
we've never done it that way, so we didn't want to do it that way this year. But thank you.
And you did mention the integrity required of this department, so we didn't want to, play smoke and mirrors with the numbers.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Trustee Me.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate those kind words. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this is our last goal, and this was to continue to enhance internal audit's competencies and efficiencies. And these goals, these metrics here really relate to us as a division and as individuals as we try to continue to learn and grow. So the first milestone was the 3-year audit plan that we completed and we brought to this committee. We also met our goals on C and D, which is to develop a divisional training plan, which we had done, and we aligned that with the Internal Audit Institute of Internal Audit's competency framework, as well as LACERA's strategic plan. We fell a little bit short in our EQA recommendations, implementing them. We have 3 more that still need implementing, but we did implement 20 of the 23. And then the last milestone there is developing a CAP audit plan. This is a continuing audit project that allows us to identify key controls, very small scope, and to test those kind of in a vacuum. Those looking just at those controls. We have the framework, it is in draft. We're just looking to really finalize it before we use it as a platform to continue to perform.
And really, we've had a formal CAP program for a long time, and this is really upgrading the formal structure of the program. So it's not even that it's in just draft. I mean, we're just improving the program more than initially creating a formal structure. We have had a formal CAP program.
Yes, we've performed CAP engagements for the last 7 to 8 years. And so we're just looking to put a little bit more structure and repeatability behind some of the steps.
Am I defining this correct? So is CAP, are they high-risk areas, or are they risk areas where there have been issues, for the lack of a better term?
So it's a quick hit audit approach. It allows us to do continuous auditing in areas because we have limited resources in order to hit all the different risk areas.
Okay.
Now we can go into an area that we've maybe had some issues or not, but go in and just do the quick hit testing. So we don't have to do a full audit of that area.
Yeah.
We've done a full audit. We've gone in, understood the process, understood the workflows, tested everything. We might or may not have had recommendations or issues. But when we do the CAP, we can go back and just do the substantive testing. And then based on that, it also becomes a risk indicator for us. If we test it and we find that we've got 100% compliance, then we know we're good. If we find that there's, less than, 50% compliance, we might have to go back and do a full audit again. But it gives us, so the CAP is reported to the division managers. The committee just gets a summary of the work that's been done. Unless there's an issue, unless there's a major issue, then we bring it to your attention. If we found during the CAP that there was a substantial non-compliance or problems with the internal controls, then we'll bring it to the committee's attention. But it's not a way to kind of expand our risk oversight of the organization.
You could also go into an area that you haven't been able to audit and do a CAP, right?
That's tough though, because if you haven't ever audited the area, to do the CAP, you don't really understand the workflows, understand the nuances of the program. So we have done that, and then it's actually resulted in us having to expand and do a full audit.
Okay.
It also aids us in reassuring that those controls that we know are strong and working as intended, we want to continue to monitor those to ensure that they are still strong and they are working as intended. So it's not really just looking at the areas that we think have an issue and are risky, but it's also those areas where we want to continue to remain confident in those key controls. And we can touch on those in a very quick fashion and get that comfort that we're looking for.
It's very important to do follow-up because people are humans. I don't know how many times I did audit follow-ups and it's like, they went back to the old stuff. And I'm like, why did you do that?
Or
So-
you look at your own work and you
Yeah.
and you said like, I could have done better or more or
Yeah.
more improved.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and I believe that is my last slide of content. If you have any additional questions, Richard will answer every single one of them. for you.
Larry, your hand's been up. Is it because before?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah. Just real quick, the approach that they're taking to the CAP program
Mhm.
is typical. In other words, they'll go in and they'll do an audit and they'll look for areas that they can apply on a continuous basis and then implement that into their program. And so that, excuse me, excuse me.
Mhm.
So the approach that they're taking is very typical. And I think you presented to the committee previously, there's 6 or 8 key areas. They look for the 960 hours, and they're looking at benefit payments that are generated and things like that on a continuous basis. And so when did you or when will you present that report again?
I believe that as we do CAP, we report the summary of the work that's been completed. Program itself, I'm not sure. I think maybe.
I thought you had a presentation that showed like 6 or 8 areas that you focus in on, and it specifically mentioned those as part of your CAP program.
Right. We can maybe that's part of the orientation that we do with the committee. Maybe that'll be in
That
February.
could have been it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be helpful to have an annual type of report like that, just so you know what's involved with it and what they're monitoring and the oversight that they're providing.
I have one more question on page 8. And my question is pretty simple. You've covered what, 8? Whatever you've covered
10.
here. Have you covered all? How many sections or what do you?
16 divisions.
Okay, that's my
throughout
question.
LACERA. Some of the organizational wide projects touch all or multiple divisions. So
Could you tell me that you've touched all divisions with this? Or you're not
No,
sure?
I don't think so. I think, you know,
Some areas
specifically member services, communications, I see those 2 are not on there.
disability litigation.
QA, disability lit. So those are some divisions that we haven't, but it doesn't mean that there isn't some overlap on some of the work that they do. And it's risk-based. So, you know, over time, we try to cover all divisions.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So our next presentation is Ethics and Compliance Program Foundational Work Plan, and Allison.
Good
Where are you,
morning.
Allison? There you are.
I am here. And there are my slides. Good morning, Chair Martin and trustees. It is time for updates on the Ethics and Compliance Program Foundational Work Plan. Next slide, please. As you know, our work plan consists of the activities listed on this slide, and I will provide highlights of the progress we've made on each since last June. If anybody has any questions on a particular slide, please stop me. Next slide, please. At the top of the slides, you'll see the program objective for each activity. These objectives are the best practices for effective ethics and compliance programs modeled after the DOJ guidelines. You've heard them before, so I will skip recitation today, but they're there for reference. And of course, if you have any further questions on the DOJ guidelines, I'm always happy to discuss them with you. So education and communication. Education is really critical for fostering a culture of ethics and compliance and risk awareness throughout LACERA. Our Ethics and Compliance Committee, the ECC, is an essential part of that education effort. ECC members regularly attend educational conferences on the elements that comprise an effective ethics and compliance program. We attend those conferences through the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics Professionals. That's the organization that administers the certification that 3 of us now have. I'm happy to report I am recruiting people to get certified, and I think we've got about 5 people going to the Academy for certification in December. This month, we attended a full-day seminar on compliance, ethics, and organizational culture. And the ECC has also launched its own in-house education that we call the Message of the Month, or the MOM, which obviously spells mom. At each ECC meeting, committee members will receive educational materials to share with their divisions to prompt discussion. ECC members will then report back at the next monthly meeting with feedback from their divisions. The Message of the Month increases the flow of communication on ethics and compliance between first-line operations and second-line ethics and compliance, and advances an understanding of ethics and compliance at every level of the organization. The Audit Message of the Month is risk awareness. It's to align with the completion of the internal audit risk assessment, compliance questionnaire, and interviews. And actually, we're meeting on that message today. Next slide, please. Policy management. Our first line managers monitor divisional policies and procedures to determine when new policies are needed and to keep existing policies current according to scheduled review cycles. The Ethics and Compliance Policy Subcommittee meets every 2 weeks when divisional subject matter experts submit new policies or policies scheduled for updating. The subcommittee is careful to review each submission for clarity and effective risk mitigation. Policy submissions are then forwarded to the full ECC for final review and posting on LACERA's policy library Compass. Since June, the subcommittee has been reviewing LACERA's procurement of goods and services policy in an effort to streamline vendor management and organizational efficiency. And LACERA's policy on policies is undergoing a complete rewrite to level up and mature organizational policy development, governance, and risk mitigation. Next slide, please. Speaking of risk, from June through the end of August, our aligned assurance team, that's internal audit and legal, we conducted follow-up interviews with each division manager regarding the 2025 annual audit risk assessment, which included the compliance program's foundational assessment of ethics and compliance risks. Our interview discussions focused on risks particular to each division, as well as LACERA as a whole. And we plan to present an overview of the risk trends identified in the questionnaires and interviews at the November ACRE meeting. Next slide, please. At the end of July, the Foundational Cultural Survey was administered organization-wide. The survey is structured around LACERA's I-ACT values. Ethics and compliance questions inherently fall under integrity, accountability, and transparency, values that guide our employees to do the right thing, no matter the circumstances. The survey closes in 4 days, after which the data will be analyzed and responses will be reviewed LACERA-wide. In early 2026, an overview of the survey responses and a culture action plan will be presented to this committee. Follow-up surveys should be conducted regularly to track progress and growth after plan implementation. Next slide, please. The Code of Ethical Conduct. It's been going an overhaul to ensure that it is clear, concise, and accessible for every division and function of the organization, because the code is a foundational document for the Ethics and Compliance Program. It serves as a decision-making guide in day-to-day operations, and it expresses LACERA's commitment to ethical judgment and compliance with applicable law. Since July, the now revised code has been under a comprehensive review by multiple stakeholders, including the Executive Office, the ECC, Fiduciary Council, and various ethics and compliance consultants. This active engagement and stakeholder comments are being deliberately incorporated into the current draft that will ultimately be presented to the ACRE committee in November. After ACRE committee review, the code will be forwarded to the boards for final review and posting on Compass. And then code orientation for trustees and all LACERA employees will follow. Next slide, please. The one we have all been waiting for. Thanks for the drama there, the waiting for. So ethics and compliance personnel, the CECO and deputy class specifications will be agendized for initial action at the Board of Supervisors meeting in late September, right around the corner. The approval of the ordinance, including salaries, will be agendized by the Board of Supervisors at a later date to be determined. However, we're not going to wait for that, because beginning in November, the Executive Office, HR, and the Ethics and Compliance team will develop a CECO recruiting plan, which we will bring to the ACRE committee and boards for review in early 2026. Next slide, please. As always, I welcome any questions, and I thank you for your time.
I have a couple questions and comments. Hip hip hooray on cultural survey. That's amazing. You know, yeah, see the shaking. Yeah, cultural survey. Congratulations. And I think, you know, as a board, I'm not speaking for everybody, but myself, that this ethic compliance program is huge. I mean, the training that you're doing, the certifications that you're doing, I mean, you're doing it the right way. You're not rushing through it. And I personally think that's a great thing. I need a reminder of who is on the ECC and who is on the subcommittee. Can anybody?
I can do that.
Okay.
In terms of names, I'm not sure, but so the ECC, we have a representative from every division.
Okay.
It's mostly managers. However, some managers have also have designees as backup, and they show up as well. It's a pretty full committee. We've got anywhere between 25 and 30 people at every meeting. I would invite all of you to come to a monthly meeting and check it out. I think that might give some more depth to when I say ECC, what it actually means. The subcommittee is about 5 or 6 people. We have both AEOs, myself, Mr. Rice, Christina Logan from Internal Audit, Ms. Nolly from the Executive Office as well, James Beasley from Administrative Services. I'm missing someone, Systems. Alonso is represents Systems. So it's fairly full. And Alonso, thank you, Bonnie, for the for the DM on the side. This is the good thing about being remote. And Roberta from HR, Roberta Van Nortrick. So those are all the players. We are well represented. And was there a further question? I was testing my memory.
Any further
there.
questions?
Oh, and Jean also from legal. Again, thank you, Bonnie. I like having a handler on the side. This is good.
I don't even see her moving her fingers either.
Ex-
I'm sorry, Perla. Where is Bonnie? She's just somewhere in the ether. Okay.
Bonnie is everywhere at LACERA.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? And we will circle back and find a good time for as many ACRA committee members as they want to attend the ACC. They are monthly, usually the third Thursday of the month.
Ready for our next one?
Back to, since we have the quorum now, do you want to go back to?
We should, pardon me. I want to do this one. Okay, the boss here, we're going to do the hotline presentation and then we'll go back. Is that good?
As you wish.
Thank you.
Morning, Chair Martin, and also to the trustees. Provided to you is our ethics hotline status report, and it's as of July 31st. We currently have 2 open cases, and all of
Is the mic on?
Okay. Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me begin again. Okay, so we have provided to you our ethics hotline status report. It's as of July 31st. There are 2 open cases and they're currently under investigation. All of the cases have been closed. Now, for those 2 cases, we're anticipating that they will be completed prior to your next meeting, and I will provide another update during that at that time. Okay. Along with the status report, I also wanted to go over some of the additional information that I have provided. You may recall at the last meeting, there's a lot of discussion and requests for some additional details regarding our hotline cases. In follow-up to that, I have provided a couple of additional documents. So you'll note 2 attachments. The first one includes the hotline case dashboard. That's where the committee will see details on the types of cases that we have received, as well as investigations. And then the second attachment includes an outline of our process. And this will show you our process from intake all the way to closing a case. So unless there are any questions at this point, I was going to start out with an overview of that flow chart, which is attachment B.
What is attachment A? Can we see attachment A?
Attachment A. I was going to go over that one also. I can do attachment first.
Yeah, if you go through both of them, it'd be great.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're looking at attachment B, which is our ethics hotline case process. Starting from the beginning, there are 2 ways to make a report. It's either going to come through the ethics portal, or if an individual prefers to speak to a representative, they can call the hotline number and speak to a representative that will take their report. Now, once that report has been made, it's going to trigger an email notification letting our LACERA administrators know that we have a new case. Currently, we have 2 primary administrators, which are our chief audit executive and our chief legal counsel. So when that case comes in, they're going to receive a notification that there is a new case. Now, Depending on the allegation, though, there are different dispatch rules regarding that email notification. If either of the primary administrators are named, then that notification is going to go to the individual that isn't named. If both of the primary administrators are named, then that notification is going to go to one of our other LACERA administrators, and we have various levels there. So in no instance is a case forwarded to anyone that's been named in the allegation. Once that case has been received, it's going to be reviewed, and then the administrators are going to note that it has been received, and also if there's any additional information that's being requested. And that will be included on that case. Now, for the reporter, there's two ways that they can get updates regarding their case as it is progressing. They can use a code that they receive when they first make the report, and they can log into the ethics portal and see updates. Or a new feature is that they can leave an email but the email remains anonymous. You know, I want to emphasize we have anonymous and a confidential hotline. And so if a person chooses to leave an email address, that information is kept anonymous as the administrators cannot see the email address at all. The beauty of that is that now any updates regarding the reporter's case will automatically be sent to them via email. That's important because what we have found in the past is that reporters don't check back. I think the percentage is pretty low as far as how many times they check back. And a lot of times we've left questions or we're requesting some additional information in order to proceed with an investigation. Okay, so moving on. When it comes to investigation, it's going to be handled by one of three divisions. It's going to go, the lead will be either internal audit, the legal office, or HR. And then there's a decision as far as if it's going to be handled with an external investigation or an internal investigation. And also, depending on the severity of the case, there is information that's provided to the exec office, our alert team, ACRE, the board. It's also informed immediately. Okay. Now, once the investigation has been completed, a report is filed. And once again, it's going to be an update that's made to that account. So again, the reporter will have some additional information as far as the results of their case and if there's any additional information that they should be made aware of. And then lastly is internal audit makes an assessment of what has occurred within the incident or within the case. We're looking at if there's any control deficiencies or risks identified in which we may need to do an audit or at least do a review. After all of that, we close out the case. And then as I've done today, there's a reporting that is made to our ACRE committee. Any questions before I move on?
I do.
Okay.
The report that you just gave the ACRE committee was 2 open cases all closed, right? And you're going to complete them by next. So I think we talked about having a little bit more information.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you'll continue to look into that, we'd like to know how many substantiated, how many's not, and, you know, is there disciplinary action pending or something very general, and the type of issue it was. You have some general categories. If we could have that next, moving forward, that would be super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
The other question I have, and I don't know if my fellow trustees have it as well, I would like to have a better understanding of when something comes to the board here, to the ACRE committee. Just saying, depending on the severity,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, you know, then it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would like to see something that's a little bit more detailed about when we're notified and what type of cases and all, you know, just something that I understand when we will be notified of issues that occur.
Yeah, that's some great comments because currently we are looking at our process and we're looking at how to make sure that we're in alignment with best practices as well as appropriate time and the details that we can provide to the ACRE, because that was part of the discussion before. And so internal audit and the legal office is looking at that, and we can provide some additional information to you at a later meeting. We're also going to be looking at those notifications and the different levels of our administrators. Not only is internal audit and legal office looking at that, but we are also meeting with our fiduciary council as well.
Yeah. Perfect.
So stay tuned, more info.
And I mean, congratulations. It's come a long way.
Mhm.
And we've only had 24 cases total, right?
Yeah, if we can go to the next slide, I can go over a little
Okay,
bit of that
yes,
information.
okay.
May I ask a question before we go
Yes,
to?
go ahead, me.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Martin. And thank you for the presentation. Yes, let's stay on this slide here. First of all, I appreciate this flow chart that explain the process much better and that help me understand what we have at the moment than last meeting. So I think that was my request that I like to see this in last meeting. So first of all, thank you for this flow chart. I remember asking the question in last meeting about the concern of if there's any report on not just the primary admin, that the two people that go through the report here, but in general executive team. You know, if there's any report on the executive teams, I think that's important enough that, in my opinion, should trigger a notification to either this ACRE committee chair or board chairs, because there's a potential risk that regardless of the outcome, right? So I spoke of this concern in last meeting. Right after that, I think you all probably saw that, drama on the news that the tech company CEO and HR executive got caught on the Coldplay, concert. I'm sure everyone saw that one, right? So I want to remind all my colleagues here that it's the board's responsibility for our executives' misconducts, if there's any, right? So the boards need to know. Back to that drama, the CEO, the HR executive having an affair got caught. That was the news for the staff, to the company staff. People knew. There was no report to the board. However, the board didn't know, right? It can be a case for us to think about it, use as a case study. We don't want to be like that. Like, it's not that I don't trust our executive team. I trust everyone here. I trust the character. We have great people here, but the process should be in place, just in case. So in my opinion, if you go back to the left side, when they go to the reports, I think if any executive team that did, go back to the flow. Any on the left side, the red box here, I think if any of the executive team be named, I think it should be trigger a notification that loop in, our ACRE chair or board chair. So that, and then they should be reported on the investigation process and then the outcome, everything like that. So in case any risk, potential risk, like reputational risk, anything for the LACERA, this is the level of the report that I think the board should be involved. I'm looking at the flow chart here. Yes, it's subject to the judgment of severity and the later on investigation, then the board may be informed, right? So that's not enough. For the people that speaking from the people that report their perspective, they're risking, if they report on the executive, they're risking being known, even though it's anonymous, but based on the nature of the report, they might be, guessed, they might be found out who reported. They risk that potential being known who they are. And then seeing this, they are not sure if that report's ever going to get to the board, right? That doesn't give them that trust and insurance that they're going to, their report mean anything, right? So I just want to emphasize on this, spoke on my concern on this again. What can we do to make that more transparency and make sure our board chairs and committee chairs are in the loop, if anything, that our executives is being named in the report. So that's my opinion, because again, it's our responsibility for the boards to oversee any executive misconducts. So that's one thing. And then I was second on Chair Martin's point on the report, the monthly report. We just saw the monthly report. It's just the title. Not even the title. It's just a summary, how many cases, what they are. So we don't know the nature of the report, what it is, and what's the outcome determination, right? So I think the report can be enhanced with a little bit more information on the monthly basis. It's only a few of them. Maybe each case is give a couple of sentences, explain what that is, and then a couple sentences explain the outcome. That would be, very helpful. Otherwise, all the board know at this point, it's just a number case and they're done, they dismiss and they close, right? So for the people that are reporting, where do they find confidence? So yeah, that's my comments here. But we come a long way. I'm looking forward to see continued improvement on this.
Okay, Trustee Langdon.
Good morning. Thank you all for the great presentations this morning. So in my capacity as county counsel, I advise the Board of Supervisors. And what we would always know is you better tell the board before they hear it in the news. So I just want to carry that over here. We don't care what's happening. We just would like to hear it from you as opposed to from the newspapers. So just wanted to add that to Nicole's little Coldplay issue.
Yeah, thank you. And as we proceed and as we're reviewing this, we are taking all this into consideration. We do want to make sure that we're maintaining the confidentiality and anonymous nature of our hotline, but we'll figure out how we can just provide some additional information to the committee going forward. We'll bring that to the next meeting. Okay. Okay, let me quickly go over attachment 1 or the attachment.
Madam Chair, if I
one.
may,
Oh, I'm sorry.
quick question on the topic, maybe for legal. If it's something, because it is an anonymous hotline and whatnot, I know there's a bright line, as Mr. Rice would say, between publicly disclosed stuff and whatnot. Is it something, if I think for more information or to be more thorough, could be done in closed session? Is that, if it,
anticipated litigation items can be discussed in a closed session. Most of these are not anticipated litigation. The only personnel items that can go to the committee or to the boards are for staff for whom the boards are the appointing authority, which is a very small group of people who would include the CEO, the CIO, chief counsel, and the CAE. Otherwise, the CEO, per the county ordinance, is the appointing authority, and he should be reporting to you on personnel issues as opposed to the board exercising appointing authority rights over staff for whom they're not the appointing authority. So there's a roles and responsibilities issue here. However, that doesn't mean that when there are significant issues, going to Trustee Langton's point and Trustee Mee's point and Trustee Martin's point as well, that when significant issues come up among staff, that there be some level of information provided to the committee, and the current system would do that, and we're going to enhance that, as Leisha said.
Yeah, and that thank you for that, because I agree with everything that was said. I think that chance favors a prepared mind, and part of preparedness is information. And I guess just I think we have a forum in a closed session if necessary. That's my question. If it's something using that process that you described, could we have full exposure in closed session, or is it something that needs to be publicly made available?
Yes, so
because we don't want to, sorry to cut you off, but we don't want to discourage people from the process for fear of public scrutiny also, of the reporting.
I think the best way we'll have the public report that's going to be enhanced. When there when more information is necessary, this would be something that the CEO would address in closed session under his performance evaluation, because he's accountable for what staff does and for managing staff. So that's a vehicle for the CEO to communicate information in closed session to the committee.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, that's great. That's good to know. That way we can get it. So I think it's good.
Great question and great answer. Thank you. I was wondering the same thing myself. Okay, so we're gonna.
I think Larry had a question, or
Yes, please.
I think another thing that might be helpful for the committee is because sometimes you're not able to go into the details, what are outcomes from this and that we're seeing with regards to trends and for example, are we making any policy changes as a result of this? Or is there additional training that might be required either organization-wide or within the unit or wherever this is occurring? Those types of things might be helpful for the committee as well, because then they can see what type of actions they're taking. How are we changing the culture? How are we addressing this? And it also informs the reporter that yes, actions are being taken and it's being taken seriously. So outcome might be helpful as well.
Okay.
Or any trends or anything like that you're noticing.
Okay. Great. Okay. The dashboard, let me just go over what's included here. So to the far left, I've included the cases that we have received as of July 31st. There's been 5 cases. As I mentioned earlier, 2 of them are still open. And in fact, we just got another case yesterday, so we're up to 6. But this report is as of July 31st. And you can see the 4 different areas are the categories were relating to these cases. When a reporter is making filing a case, there are about 20 different categories they can use. And as you can see in that middle chart, we've come across 11 of those different categories. We've had 24 cases since 2020. And, most notable would be probably the 2 spikes up to 4 cases, hiring irregularities, and the ones relating policy violations. And when we're talking about themes, one thing to note is that we do look at this information in internal audit. You may have noted that currently we have in our audit plan a review regarding policies. And then in the past, we've had HR recruiting reviews. We have another one relating to offboarding in our current audit plan too. So we do look at the types of cases that are coming in as far as our audit planning as well. To the far right is the number of investigations, the number of cases and investigations that have occurred over this past 5 years. And each year you can see how many cases we have had, and then the type of investigations that have occurred. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes the reporters don't check back, and we're requesting some additional information in order to do an investigation. And so you can see here 1-2 times a year, we're getting those cases where we just don't have enough information in order to proceed. So this is just the beginning phases. I do plan to bring some additional information at the November meeting. I know Trustee Martin, you did mention about information on cases that were substantiated versus those that have not, that we can include, and also some data as far as the timeliness of how we're processing cases too.
Thank you, and one more congratulations. I don't know any sort of system that actually reaches back out, just to give you feedback if you're a reporter. So I think that you figured that out is pretty significant.
Yeah, and we're also looking at the process that is used from our system administrator, and we're going to look at how can they, or what can we do in order to get additional information or get detailed information when the report is actually being made as well.
Trustee Mee has a question.
Thank you, Chair Martin. Just a little bit odd, the chart on the right side there. What happened to 2024? There's no report at all.
Yeah, there were no reports in 2024.
Huh.
Yeah, I know. Interesting, but I double checked, triple checked. No
excellent.
Cases. Yeah, not to mean that we weren't working on cases, overflow from 2023, but there were no new cases in 2024.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What we want to do is we want to move to the minutes and then to the presentation. So anybody have a move to approve the minutes? Question?
Second.
Thank you. All right. And Miss Sun up again.
Hi.
Do the voting.
The voting, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Ms. Ginsburg made the motion. Mr. Green approved it. I second it. Ms. Mee,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Durazo,
Aye.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
I abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. And Ms. Ginsburg
Yes.
and Chair Martin.
Yes.
All approved with the exception of Mr. Moore abstaining. The motion passes.
You're up.
Okay. Good morning again, Chair Martin and trustees. I'm here to present staff's work on the financial auditor RFP process. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this RFP search aligns with LACERA's strategic focus on fiscal durability by ensuring long-term financial stewardship for LACERA's retirement pension trust and LA County's OPEB trust and OPEB custodial fund. The proposed contract is for 5 years, starting with the fiscal year end 2026 audit, with the option to extend it to 2 additional 1-year terms. As part of our recent RFP process, we completed a thorough evaluation. Our recommendation is to move forward with CLA as our new external auditor. I'll walk through the evaluation process that we conducted, the criteria we used, and the key factors that led us to this recommendation. Some of the key points to highlight here are that from the start, CLA stood out as a strong candidate. They bring an extensive team with deep expertise in public pension fund auditing, including 2 dedicated IT audit leaders, a partner and a principal, which is rare among the competing firms. Their approach is engaging and proactive, with proposals and communications tailored to LACERA. For example, they've already identified key vendors, reviewed prior ACFRs, and laid out a blueprint for the initial readiness assessment project. That blueprint will directly benefit LACERA by assessing our organizational maturity, internal controls, and IT infrastructure. On top of that, CLA commits substantial hours to senior leadership from the engagement manager level and above, and maintains a protocol of conducting fraud inquiries and walkthroughs in person with our management. Altogether, this combination of expertise, preparation, and commitment to senior level involvement sets CLA apart from others. You'll see we've included some background on CLA here, but I'll come back to that at the end of the evaluation process. Next slide, please. So first thing you'll notice on this slide, we've included a progress bar in the lower right corner with major milestones marked that's in the RFP process. The rest section and the yellow star indicates what we're currently discussing on the slide, so trustees can follow along in the process. So here in April 2025, the committee approved the release of the financial auditor RFP, along with the scope of services and evaluation criteria. That decision established the clear and transparent framework for this process. From there, we issued the RFP at the end of April, reviewed the proposal received, and conducted a structured evaluation using the criteria you had approved. Next slide, please. So the next 3 slides reiterate the scope of services for assurance projects and consulting projects that this committee approved back in April. These were included in the RFP and provided all firms with the same framework of requirements. Since the committee is already familiar with the scope, I won't go into too much details. But on slide 4, just high level, it's the scope of work for assurance attestation related to financial statement audit and GASB audits. Slide 5 has additional advisory work, ad hoc work, and the initial readiness assessment review scope. And lastly, slide 6 contains the details for non-attestation consulting work. So if there's no question, moving along to slide 7. So this slide shows the distribution of RFP and the responses we received. The RFP was widely distributed to ensure a competitive process. By the June deadline, we received 6 proposals in total, which reflects a strong response rate for this type of engagement, given the specialized expertise required. In our outreach, we specifically sought out firms which demonstrated commitments to DEI, as well as firms with deep expertise in public pension auditing, including experience with GASB, complex investment portfolios, and IT environment. Each proposal was reviewed for completeness, responsiveness to the scope, and alignment with the evaluation criteria approved by the committee in April. From there, we moved into a structured scoring and review process, which I'll walk through next. So next slide, please. So in July, we began the RFP evaluation phase. This slide shows the divisions represented on the evaluation team. Having cross-functional participation ensured that we had diverse perspectives and a well-rounded review of each proposal. Our evaluation team included representatives from the executive office, financial accounting, investments, benefits, systems, retiree healthcare, and internal audit. In total, we had 12 participants from 7 divisions. I want to thank each and every one of them for the time and effort they dedicated to this project. Next slide, please. So the RFP evaluation is structured with 3 phases. First, all 6 proposals were scored by team members and 4 firms advanced. Next, we held interviews, reviewed fees, and checked references, narrowing to 2 finalists. Finally, we assessed alignment with LACERA's audit needs and reached consensus on recommending CLA for approval. I will discuss the details of each phase in the subsequent slides. So on slide 10, please. Here's just another reference slide listing the RFP evaluation criteria that we used to score the proposals. These are the same criteria the committee approved in April. Each proposal was evaluated against these factors, and the scoring results determine which firms advance the next phase. So I'll show you the results for phase 1 on the next slide. Okay, so here we show the results of phase 1, where all 6 proposals were scored against the evaluation criteria that was just shown. Based on the weighted scores, 4 firms advanced to the interview stage: I. Bailey, Grant Thornton, CLA, and Plemoran, who is our incumbent auditor. As you can see, CLA and Plemoran received the highest overall weighted scores, both at 7.78. Grant Thornton and I. Bailey also scored competitively, which is why all 4 advanced. 2 firms, BDO and Baker Tilly, did not advance. The proposals did not sufficiently meet LACERA's evaluation criteria, and as such, they were not selected for interviews. With those results, we moved into phase 2, where we focused on validating whether the firm's approach and team dynamics matched the strength of their proposals. So phase 2 gave us the opportunity to meet the proposed teams and see if the strength on paper carried through in person. Staff interviewed each firm's proposed teams, where we asked the same set of questions on team credentials and structure, auditing approaches, value add work, and transition plan. Next, we analyzed the proposed fees and hours of the 4 firms, which is what's shown on the slide here. The goal of the fee analysis was to identify firms that propose the right size team and hours for LACERA's needs, not simply the lowest cost. This comparison is apples to apples, since the fees only cover the financial statement and GASB audits. So first thing you'll notice, it's a pretty colorful chart. Cells filled with red indicate the amounts that are on the higher end, and vice versa, green indicates the lower range. Looking at the table in the first column labeled 5-year total costs, CLA and Plemoran both came in as middle option, neither the lowest nor the highest, with the audit hours that the team felt were appropriately sized for LACERA's complexity. It also became apparent that Grant Thornton has the highest total hour with over 11,000 hours during a 5-year period, as indicated in column 3, so labeled 5-year total hours. Grant Thornton proposed hours that are 50% more than the other firms, which drove down GT's hourly rate, but also suggested a heavier audit model than needed. Conversely, I. Bailey's hours were lighter, reflecting a less extensive audit approach. Again, but caveat here is that looking at hours alone can also be misleading, since it doesn't differentiate from senior level hours to associate hours. And when we met the different engagement teams, that's when we saw the difference. While Plemoran as a firm has public pension fund experience, the newly proposed team replaced a couple of key members, including the senior manager, who was our primary day-to-day contact. Plemoran also does not have any dedicated IT auditors on the engagement team. In comparison, the CLA team was highly engaging and proactive in their discussions. They came prepared, having done their due diligence, since their proposals and conversations reflected work they had already done reviewing our ACFRs and key vendors. Another thing that really stood out was CLA's commitment to senior level involvement from the financial statement audit team and the IT audit team. Both of the dedicated IT audit leaders, a partner and director, were present at our interview meetings. It underscores the importance they place on IT risks and controls at LACERA. To take a step further, Mike Nyman, one of CLA's senior IT leaders, is here today to talk about how they will be involved in our engagement and how their IT work will support the overall financial statements. For these reasons, CLA and Plan Moran advanced as finalists. Next slide, please. So phase 3 was the final step where the team weighed phase 1 scoring and phase 2 interviews together to ensure alignment with our selection criteria. These next 2 slides highlight the strength and potential concerns that were identified. The check marks on the slide indicate strength, and the open circles indicate potential concerns. Both finalists were strong, with public pension practices, DEI programs, and fees within the expected range. Plan Moran brought institutional knowledge from nearly a decade of working with LACERA, but their proposed team had replaced several key members, no dedicated IT auditors, and their audit approach had not evolved to address our growing business needs. By contrast, CLA presented a stable team with deep pension and GASB knowledge, included dedicated IT audit leads, and a more forward-looking audit approach. CLA distinguished itself with a more thought-out initial readiness framework, one that leverages planning work that will be done during the financial statement audits. This efficiency avoids duplication and ensures that the readiness project provides meaningful insights right away. At the conclusion of phase 3, our focus was on identifying which firm offered not only the strongest audit services, but also the greatest long-term value for LACERA. CLA brings relevant experience from other public pension systems, and they've made it clear they're ready to tailor that knowledge into a custom approach for LACERA. You will hear more about the CLA audit approach during their presentation. If you can go to the next slide, just so everyone can see the comparison for CLA and Plan Moran. If there is no question at this point, I will go to the CLA fee proposal next.
Just a quick question. So you note that they have significant public pension experience. Are you able to disclose who they?
Yes, I believe it's been part of their presentation, but off the top of my head, the Seattle pension fund system, Arizona, the engagement partner, he audits all the Massachusetts pension funds, New Mexico PARA, Minnesota, Colorado PARA, a lot of pension funds comparable to LACERA's size. And they also work on CalSTRS cybersecurity engagements. So they're they have a lot of footprint in various type of public pension funds.
Awesome. As far as within Searle systems, any Searle systems that they?
Yes. So what's interesting, they actually audit the Fresno County, but not the pension fund. So they do have some knowledge of how LA County works, but I believe we'll be the first Searle fund that they have. And this, unfortunately, all the proposed firms, none of them has Searle experience, but what's helpful is that CLA, they understand CalSTRS, they do work on a lot of local California public entities. So they have staff that kind of has that knowledge.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I believe they'll share more. They have a particular slide on that and during their presentation. So if there's no questions, I will go over to CLA's fee proposals. Next slide, please. So the committee is charged with approving the compensation of the financial auditor. This slide shows CLA's proposed fees over the 5-year engagement for the pension trust, OPEB trust, and the OPEB custodial fund for a total of $1.2 million. The first year is slightly higher to cover additional testing for a new audit, then fees level off and remain stable. Their pricing is within 5% of other proposals, so it's competitive and consistent with market expectations. And again, these fees cover the financial statement and GASB audits. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the potential auditor transition timeline. Staff will work diligently with both our incumbent auditor and successor auditor to ensure a smooth transition. Next slide, please. So this brings me to my final slide, my presentation. So in previous searches, staff have typically brought at least 2 finalist firms to the committee for interviews and a selection decision. This time, however, the evaluation process made the choice clear. CLA distinguished itself with competitive fees and a right-size hours, substantial involvement from senior leadership, and dedicated IT audit expertise at the partner and principal levels. These strengths, combined with their tailored approach, led the evaluation team to unanimously recommend CLA as the sole finalist. At this time, I'd like to invite the CLA team to present their approach to the committee. With me today, I have Chris Rogers, Engagement Partner, Brittany Smith, Engagement Manager, and Mike Nyman, Engagement IT Director. They will walk you through their proposed engagement approach and answer any questions you may have. What you've heard from me is the evaluation team's approach. Now you will hear directly from CLA. And just a little brief introduction about CLA. CLA is a top US accounting firm with over 9,000 staff across 130 locations. They serve more than 3,700 government organizations and have a dedicated practice auditing public pension funds with assets exceeding 2 trillion and 3 million members. CLA has been recertified as a great place to work in January 2025. The company has the CLA Foundation, which is dedicated to connect diverse networks through education, employment, and entrepreneurship. In 2025, CLA created the National DEI Council to formally develop a strong DEI culture. Since then, the CLA family has awarded $5.5 million through 342 grants to organizations across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I think you've done my job. Well, excuse me, Chair Martin, trustees, we really appreciate the invite to present to you today. We are really excited about this opportunity. Very briefly, my name's Chris Rogers. I have Brittany Smith with me as well as Mike Nyman. And if we could go to the next slide, please. What we like to do today is just do a brief introduction to at least the three people that are here from the engagement team. And then I'd like to provide you a firm overview, maybe a little more in depth than Christina just did, but very good job. And then I'm going to talk about our industry and client experience. And then I'm going to turn it over to Brittany and Mike to talk about our audit approach and work plan. And then I'll wrap us up with our commitment to LACERA. Next slide, please. So pictured on the screen is our full engagement team. But I am Chris Rogers. I am the managing principal of our state and local government practice. And my role on this engagement is to be the engagement principal. What that means is that I have overall engagement responsibility. I'm also responsible for making sure that we have not only the appropriate resources, but the right resources to complete the job. And I'll be working with Brittany and Mike on the planning and the actual execution of the engagement. A little background on me. I have dedicated my entire career to the public sector and specifically to governments. That's been over 31 years now. I have owned my own firm that I began in 2002, and we were acquired by CLA in 2014. And the reason that I sold our business, we were a boutique firm, all we did was governments, including government pension plans, was CLA's commitment to government. And when we look around at all the firms in the country today, CLA is the largest assurance provider to governments in the country with almost a $200 million practice. So I'm really proud of the fact. Glad I was smart back in 2014. I feel like I've really made the right decision, and we have doubled down on the public sector and specifically state and local government. So I've previously served on the AICPA's state and local government expert panel. I've been part of the GFOA's special review committee program for the certificate program. And as CLA, I am the designated audit quality partner for the Government Audit Quality Center. I didn't use all the acronyms because it can get really confusing, but that's a little bit about me. Brittany, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Brittany Smith, engagement manager, as you've heard. I'm very thrilled to be here presenting to you. I have over 13 years of experience just working with retirement plans and almost only cost sharing agent plans. I started working with Taft-Hartley plans when I first started in 2012 out of college, and I got the opportunity to volunteer to work with Washington. I'm based in Seattle, and I got the opportunity to volunteer to raise my hand the quickest to be on the audit for the state retirement system, Washington DRS. And I fell in love working with pensions and, quickly transitioned to full-time working with state retirement and local retirement systems throughout the country. And that's 100% of what I do. And I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to do that. I wanted to give you a little bit just about me. I'm from California originally, went up to Washington for college, but I'm half my life 0 to 18 in California. And I just seeing the state flag in the back, which is so cheesy. I was really excited to be able to have a state not a state, but be able to have a reason to come back to my home state and bring that knowledge back to, provide value to the people of my original state and where my family all lives.
All right, Mike Nyman. I'm a director, really focused in the IT environment. A little bit about my background. I started with a Big Four firm, was with them for 11 years, and I've been here for about 17 years. It's all been in IT. So I've done all types of IT systems, from SEC clients, big clients, to state and local government, which is my focus now, is state and local government. Something interesting about me is I just finished, after 17 years of being a Boy Scout leader, I decided to call it quit last month. So I got all 5 of my sons through the program. They're all 5 are Eagle Scouts. And so it was a great blessing for me.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Mike. All right, I think we could probably move the slides up to the next couple of slides is essentially just summarizing our experience. I think you go to slide 7. And what I'd like to do right now is just give you a little bit about just an overview of the firm. As Christina said, we've been certified. This is the 3rd year in a row. It's a great place to work. But we have national and international reach. Domestically, we have over 130 offices across the country. We have nearly 9,000 people. And several years ago, we started our own global network, which we are an independent member of. Next slide, please. Okay, so a couple of things I want to highlight on this slide, and this is really, the CLA promise is really what we're about and who we are. Our promise is to know you and help you. And that probably sounds a little bit corny, but it's exactly what we do, and we serve, right? And every client that we have, we truly look at it as a partnership. We're going to do our job. We're going to adhere to all the professional standards, but we also want you to succeed, and we want to be part of that success with you, and we want to assist you through that process. The other thing I'd like to point out is you see those 4 strategic advantages listed there. The deep industry specialization is really the key segregator for me. Many and most firms are more service oriented, and that's where their focus is. Well, we focus specifically on industry. And the cool thing about what we do is the people that you're going to get are passionate about what they do. They've chose to work in this arena. And that's not always the case in many other firms. And that's something that really, for me, really separates us. Can you move on to the next slide, please? Now, just a snapshot of what our state and local, our national government practice looks like. And these are really last year's number, but we're a little bit over 180 million. We serve over 4,200 governments throughout the country. And we have over 600 professionals that are dedicated to the state and local government sector, including public pension plans. And as Brittany said, this is actually all she does all year is focus on public pension plans. And I know she's very happy about that. And we're very happy to afford her the opportunity because it obviously makes us very successful. We have somebody that committed and passionate about what they do. Next slide, please. Okay, you can go one more slide. So the next slide just showing, and Christina, I think, hit some of this, but this is just a sample of our larger public pension plans that we audit. As you can see there, the ones with an asterisk are both pension and OPEB. So that, we got the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Arizona State, Colorado Para, ERS of Texas, The Texas one is the one I'm an engagement principal on, as well as the Seattle City, the Commonwealth of Mass. I'm also the engagement principal on. But we've been doing this for quite some time, and there's many other pension plans, just not necessarily to the size and scale of LACERA. These are the more comparable ones. And I will point out the CalSTRS one it's cybersecurity. It's not financial audit services. The other thing I would mention too is these plans are a makeup of various groups, meaning could be police, fire, school, general employees, etc. So it's a very good mix. Next slide, please. And just from a California experience standpoint, I won't read them all off to you, but we are involved with, the Housing Authority. We actually just picked up but probably 6 months ago, we were awarded the State of California single audit. But we have performed work for California Department of Human Resources Savings Plan, Cal Savers, and then many cities and counties across the state.
I did want to add in as a small correction to what Christina said earlier about our Searle experience, that we do actually audit Fresno County, Fresno, Sarah, but the team proposed for your audit does not work on that. So we, just as a firm, we do have the experience with Searle. We also worked with Kern County
Yep.
previously, but just out of transparency, none of the individuals assigned to LACERA personally were on those engagements. However, we know who does that work, and we happy to collaborate with them for any insights they have, but certainly ready to dig in and read Searle, be very versed in that.
Great. Next slide, please. So, but before I turn it over to Brittany and Mike, just, again, we are obviously committed to the state and local government sector. Excuse me. And we're actively sought out for speaking engagements at various organizations. The P2F2 conference, Brittany, you've probably spoken there at the last probably 3 or 4 times, maybe more, but I believe we have 4 speaking spots at P2F2 this year. We're involved with this, even though I'm a past member of the state and local government expert panel, we have a slot, we as a firm have a slot on that every year due to the size and our commitment to the industry. Again, I won't read you the whole slide, but we are very engaged in all aspects of the national organizations that support government, including public pension plans. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brittany.
Great. I'll tag on one piece from that last slide that we, APFA, we also are regularly asked to speak at APFA. Myself and Jim Kreiser, who's the IT principal assigned, we're both speaking at APFA this fall and coordinating with CalSTRS, who's the sponsor of this fall's APFA conference, to provide hopefully wonderful content for the APFA conference. All right, next slide, please. So transition plan. We've got a number of bullets here. I think all of which it's hard to pick what's the most important. We've bulleted or bolded investing in the relationship. Chris said earlier, we're here to know you and help you. That is very true. I think our other clients would agree that we really dig in to understand the organization. And, one of the most key things, again, it's a broken record. We have assigned a lot of time from our principals and managers. And, we thought long and hard when we were putting together our hours assignments, to be sure that we could come through with that commitment to LACERA in our schedules. Certainly we have a number of other clients, but we have dedicated and have planned appropriately to have the people that we're saying that we are assigning have the hours we're committing to you. And I think that is what is the most important part of the transition plan, is just having the most knowledgeable people on the ground, especially at the start. We're very familiar with reviewing predecessor auditor work papers, collaborating through that process. It's a normal thing for us to be able to get an understanding and be able to work collaboratively with the predecessor auditor. And having our experience and having worked with so many other systems, while LACERA, every pension and every OPEB plan has a lot of unique aspects, just having seen so much throughout, our experience will help us click in more quickly with your staff. Next slide. So communication is key. We have policy within CLA that we respond not in hour. One of our taglines is we don't respond in days, we respond in hours. And so we put a lot of priority in having timely responses in our emails, being ready and willing partners to pick up the call, pick up the phone, and very, very excited to have that type of collaboration back from clients. We work, I think, best with people who really want to engage with us. And I'm very impressed with LACERA so far by just how this RFP process went. It was really clear to me, and the questions that we were getting from the staff, that the staff actually read our proposal, actually had questions about specific paragraphs that we took a lot of time to very much custom tailor. And not everybody reads the proposals in as much depth as LACERA did. And we put the energy into to that, and it became clear to me that I think we'll have a wonderful partnership with our common approach to diligence and detail and excellence. So we are committed to meeting all deadlines, and then committed to continuity. I'm very committed personally to this practice and to working with government retirement systems. And therefore the clients I've worked with I've worked with for quite a long time. So, and similarly with Chris and Mike, we, things happen. There's always some amount, we can't promise that there won't ever be turnover in the teams, but we really work to not just switch people out for a bigger and better project, to keep people we've assigned and commit to those engagements for the long haul. Next slide. So we have a phased approach. We, of course, start planning and strategy, then go on to systems evaluation, then testing and analysis, reporting and follow-up more broadly. The next slides will go into much more detail. So as Christina was saying, we are looking a lot at your key vendors. Very pleased to give Nick Collier a shout out from Milliman. I've worked with him a long time. He's in Seattle as well. And, I think I have a high praise for him as actuary. So I was very pleased to see that he's the LACERA's primary actuary. We're experienced working with State Street and have actually done consulting previously on processes around their other pension systems who use State Street. So in prep, I was reviewing some of my previous notes from those types of projects. And then as well, Siegel, we partner with them regularly with other pension systems. They're the actuary for Colorado Para, for example. So this initial readiness assessment, we were very excited to see that as an added item in the proposal. And it really underscored for us when we were working in our on our proposal presentation that LACERA was really invested in being the best system it can be. And that it's very exciting for us to work with those types of clients. We're very excited to, create a custom plan. Just even in this presentation, listening to internal audits discussion of our, of recent IT risk assessment, I have my wheels turning, thinking through how can we, when we're building out this initial readiness assessment, which we're very open to input, but our initial thoughts would be on kicking that off would be to meet with the key leaders and help really collaborate on what are the priority areas, what is what is LACERA envisioning exactly, and making sure we're not overlapping projects, because of course LACERA has a lot of projects. It was very helpful listening to the internal audit presentation as I'm repeating myself, but wouldn't want to duplicate that effort, but also take it as a moment, an opportunity for us to really learn LACERA in and out. I think will help set us up to be much better financial statement auditors, to really be able to look under the hood and have be able to take time in the more, beyond what is just required in a financial statement audit. I think will set us up for success to provide value to you. Next slide. So the next handful of slides I can go through in as much or as little detail as you all are interested in, but the primary areas of a pension OPEB audit would be investments, contributions, benefit payments, and actuarial data, of course, as the most significant material areas. Next slide. So I've put together slides that go through a high level of our overall general approach for each of the areas. I'll just highlight, because the alternative investments are, of course, your most is a significant risk area of any public pension plan, especially the valuation of those alternative investments. And want to highlight that, while most alternative investment funds that public pensions hold receive audited financial statements, which we're very familiar with obtaining, reviewing, using for our audit support, we are also ready to focus on any unaudited funds, and be able to perform alternative procedures there as needed. Every asset class within the alternatives is different. That approach would, of course, vary depending on what types of funds you have, what types of unique challenges come up in our audit process there. However, I think it really helps that we've seen so many different investment portfolios that we have a understanding of what we need to do as auditors, that we can focus our brain power and our efforts, especially on what makes your investment portfolio unique, or any unique aspects of that portfolio, because we're so familiar with all of the more standard aspects. Next slide. So as far as contributions go, we of course take time we test controls of contributions, we perform all of these areas you'll see, we perform walkthroughs, reconciliation, etc. But what's most interesting here, to me at least, is that we have data analytics built in. We'll be working with your teams to gather detailed data of your contribution reporting, to be able to look for anomalies in that data. Something I'm passionate about, and a lot of those speaking sessions have been, I keep trying to suggest other topics, but people want to keep having me speak on data analytics, because it is really interesting, and especially being as the only data analytics I've done has been solely focused on public pensions, so that is really my niche there. Next slide. Benefit payments. A similar story there, but I will highlight, that some of the unique types of benefits that we're familiar with, of course, drop, of course, other types of very challenging types of, there's a lot of complexity in the benefit payments space within a public pension plan. We've seen a lot of things. I'm sure we'll get to learn a lot of unique rules and unique calculations that LACERA has. But similarly, the data analytics is a big piece of our work, along with the tested controls of benefits around our understanding in our audit process. Next slide. Actuarial data. Again, I will not read all of these, but we take time to understand the competence of your specialist Milliman. I was in my review of LACERA seeing, very happy to see there's actuarial audits done. CAVMAC, I believe, doing your actuarial audit. But if you go to the next slide, one of the more unique aspects of what our approach includes is we work with an auditor specialist, an actuarial firm that we coordinate with to review, perform. It's not the same as an actuarial audit where it's a recalculation audit or a replication audit. That's the term. It's not a full replication audit, but it is been very valuable to other clients of ours in identifying, errors or some simple typos in what's plugged in as far as the assumptions go, making a small 0.1% edit to the model for an actuary can have a huge impact to the net position, net pension liability or net OPEB liability. Next slide. And I will turn it over to Mike.
All right. Thanks, Brittany. So as the IT team, we're integrated with the audit team. So we're not out doing our own thing. We integrate with them. So we're involved in the planning phase. We're involved in the system evaluation and the walkthrough. So really we work hand in hand, trying to understand, all right, here are the significant process. Here's really what's driving the financial reporting process but what are the dependents upon the IT systems? And so we work with them to help identify, all right, here's the applications, here's the infrastructure they sit in, here's the databases that they reside on there. And as we go through that, then we start identifying, all right, what are the key risks associated with this? What could go wrong? And then start looking at, all right, what are the controls that have put in place? And to identify those controls, we go through, have interviews, we look through documentation, but the key thing to help us with that is we actually do walkthroughs and say, all right, you're doing this, but show us you're actually doing this. Is this what you're saying you're doing? And really represent that. And then based on our outcome, then we can say, all right, are the systems in place doing what they're supposed to, what management is intended? And then does it have an impact on the overall audit procedures? So if we go on to the next slide, this will kind of go over some of the key areas that we look at. And I call these more the IT general control areas, but these are really the underlying process of your applications or your systems that support them. So we really want to focus on that change management process. So if management decides to change the way the functionality is happening of the application, what is the process it goes through? Is it authorized to be worked on? Is it developed outside of the production environment? Is there testing? Are users involved? Is there formal approval with that? And is there proper segregation of duties when those changes go into production? And then also with the applications, we want to look at the security around, not just within the application and the application level security, but where it sits. So is there proper security around the database, the operating systems, or the identity management system that allows them to get into the application? So what are those controls? How can we look at them and test them? And then on the additional part of it, we look at we call it the network, but kind of all the infrastructure with this. So are you protecting it with a firewall? Do you have additional layers of security in place? How do you set up users? How are you removing users? What are you doing to monitor those users and make sure they still have the access that's appropriate or aligned with their job responsibility? And then again, with the applications, you're giving the users a lot of ability within the application. Does it align with their job responsibility? Is it set up appropriately? And then kind of dealing with the last kind of part of it is, what are you doing from the backup standpoint? So are you backing up your data? Are you periodically trying to restore the data if something happens? And then the last one that we kind of put in here is cybersecurity. It's becoming more and more prevalent. All right, it's not if you get attacked, when you get attacked, what measures are you putting in place? Do you have cyber insurance in place? Do you have an incident response plan in place? What are you doing to test those other things in place? So, and from our background with the IT, we've looked at a lot of things from pensions, from mainframe environments where it's a homegrown system to being an outsourced third-party vendor supported system. So we've looked at a variety of systems, but the key thing is the IT general controls are generally the same, but it's how organizations put them in place, it becomes really critical. And are they really following those? And so, and then I'll turn it over to Chris for the next one.
Thank me. Next
Oh,
slide.
Brittany, sorry.
It's okay. All right. I had to have even more slides on data analytics, pet topic. I've already talked about it a bit, but just a recap. When we're doing this work, we're requesting detailed files that include 100% of the populations, and looking at things holistically to look for populations out of the whole that would jump out as unusual. When you just select a random sample, you're very unlikely to catch anything unusual. It can be, looking for a needle in a haystack. And, this ends up being a very collaborative process with staff, and reiterative, where each year it gets stronger and stronger as we learn more and more about LACERA. We add more and build out the testing over time. It doesn't just immediately all become a wonderful, huge data analytics project. It's each year part of our budgeted hours will be to add additional tests in this category, broadly thought of as data analytics. Next slide. Also, just, fairly small, but we included the timeline. We were, our timeline that we proposed in the proposal process aligned we're confident in the timeline that LACERA had outlined as key dates, and then built that out in more detail based on the information provided. Next slide. And now we'll turn it back to Chris to close this out.
Great. Thank you. And before I do close it out, I failed to mention at the beginning that after this slide, there is probably another 10 or 15 slides. It just identifies other services we perform as it relates to cybersecurity, IT, digital, et cetera. We're not going to go through those today, but it's just more for an FYI for all of you. To wrap us up, a team perspective, we're going to get a team of professionals that are passionate and excited about what they do, and are passionate and excited to work with LACERA. You'll have a high level of principal and manager involvement. From a service perspective, I think Brittany said it earlier, we do respond in hours, not days. We do think that is critical, and the communication piece is always the most critical thing as it relates to the success of not only an engagement, but especially on a new engagement. And you have a commitment by CLA and myself as managing principal of the state and local government practice that you will have high quality service and we will deliver timely. And then finally, I'll end you with that you will have access to one of the largest, most knowledgeable pools of resources in the country. And finally, we're here to serve you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks. Yeah, a couple of comments and whatnot. The additional services is that part of the package, or did you just include these as additional services, or is this additional service, the slides after her with the analytics, integration, cybersecurity, whatnot, that is all part of what would be in addition to?
It's above and beyond. Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. So that leads into my question for Mike. I noticed you said you have hackers, and do you guys contract with, or is everybody on CLA payroll, or do you guys contract out?
No, everyone's on CLA payroll.
Okay, gotcha. So then you have your own background checks.
Yeah, we have to go through annual background checks for all of our IT professionals. We do an annual.
Gotcha.
background
Yeah,
check.
because obviously, we're large,
Yeah.
you guys are large, and that makes us a target. And we know even the largest companies are subject to, and we have a really big responsibility with ensuring, benefits are paid. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. And then, so that covers my other question about integrated checks and balances and whatnot. And then getting into the size of the company, and we talked about nuanced, with LACERA, we do have some unique things within, we're one of the largest. We also have, one of the largest county defined benefit funds. Obviously this is going to be a relationship that develops. You guys it sounds like you're very nimble, and I'll make a motion to support staff recommendation, but I do want to explain, one thing that as far as myself personally as a trustee and whatnot, the risk management process from staff and that symbiosis that's required, it's part of our risk management process. And it is crucial that, like you guys alluded to it, that, the expectation of the board, as a trustee is that you guys integrate into that, get yourselves up to speed, and then be part of that risk management process, especially as a new vendor. That's what I'll be paying attention to, because I have confidence in the risk management process as I know it now and with the relationships we have. And I think it's very important that it sounds like you guys are, going to handle that, but it's part of it. It instills confidence in not only our membership, but the trustees for our decision-making process too. So I move to take staff.
I'll go ahead and second that. This is Martinez.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair Martin. First of all, very lovely meeting CLA team. It's one thing that our staff recommend from a consultant vendor. It's the other thing to actually meet the team in front of us. So thank you for coming to also meet us. So we have a much better understanding beyond the paper who you are, that has been recommended to the board, even the board at the moment. So looking forward, to work with you. I read this slide say that you're new. One of the cons of this learning curve. I don't see that as a pro, but I see it as a con, because it is a good practice that we have a different external auditor once a while that serve as a new fresh pair of eyes. So in your learning curve, when you call it learning curve, I think it's a process that you can actually, in your learning, potentially discover something that we didn't know as a pair of fresh eyes, right? So lovely meeting you. And this is the new format. I believe that we have never been introduced to, a vendor consultant that being recommended to the board in person, meet you in person. So I would say this is a great practice. I'll make a comment about the presentation. Christina and audit team, like I said earlier, I grow my, appreciation of what you do day after day, and then come to realize that, audit team, it is one of LACERA's core strength. Core strength in the process of how you handle this request proposal. At first, I see that the timeline is very short. However, with the short timeline, the efficiency they deliver without any compromise of level of engagement, collaboration, and the level of diligence that you did. So excellent work here, and I appreciate that. In the sense of reporting to the board, I recommend other LACERA teams to look at this report. This report is one of the best reports I have seen. I don't speak on other people, but for myself, it's one of the best reports I have seen presented to the board, with the level of transparency and thorough explanation of how you come to the recommendation that you recommend in front of the board, right? So excellent, very high level. I recommend to do that rather than present something without, the backup support explanation, how you come to the recommendation. So you make our job very easy, and then make our oversight easy. And then I can personally come to the approver, the vote with much more confidence. So excellent work and excellent reporting in the way that you report. At the end, I have one minor comments, minor question on the slide 15. It's for my personal learning, if you go to slide 15. Can someone go to slide 15? Thank you. Christina, slide 15.
Yes, I believe that's the fee proposal slide.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, we know it by heart. Thank you for putting up. So for my own learning, I'm on the investment board. I always see there's two funds that we're investing. One is the pension trust, one's the OPEC, right? So this OPEC custodial fund, the third one on the line here, is somewhat new to me. So could someone help me understand the third one, what that is, and in comparison to the OPEC, why there's a two there?
Yes, I only know at a high level, it's part of the LA County OPEB program that we have another fund. Maybe Ted or someone else can come up and speak a little bit more on that. Thank you.
Good morning, Ted Granger, Chief Financial Officer here at LACERA. That's a great question, Trustee Mee. I'm glad you asked. We essentially have three accounting entities that we report upon. One is the pension trust. The second one is the OPEB trust. The third one is the OPEB custodial fund. That's in essence a fund where we hold money for and on behalf of the county. It's sort of the accounts that accumulate money where we use it to administer the retiree healthcare program. So we do have a separate reporting structure for that. It's essentially a flow-through entity. And at the end of the day, the money is essentially held on behalf of the county. But again, because it's entrusted at LACERA, we do have to report that fund.
Thank you so much. Basically, it's a separate account that for a certain purpose, that money is different from the trust that we invest. Thank you. I learned something new today. Appreciate it.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thanks, Ted.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation and appreciate your time here today and did a real good job there. For just for the board's information, the committee here, having our financial statement auditor be independent is top for us, right? It's really important. And so, I noticed that LACERA was not on your list of clients and things like that. And so that's great. But can you just walk us through the process that your firm uses to ensure that you are independent? In fact, especially with some of our fund managers that with regards to the work that you may be performing for them, or even some of our fund investments and things like that. So just kind of walk us through that process. Maybe provide some attestation to a degree to the board of to the committee of degree of independence, because that's critical for us.
Sure. Excuse me. Well, I think one of the things that makes it a little bit easier, right, is that CLA hasn't taken private equity money, number one. And we have no plans to. Our CEO has doubled down on the partnership model. It is a successful and powerful model, and that is our stance. And we're not moving off the partnership model. So that's number one. Number two, excuse me. We don't do any SEC work. So that assists us from an independence perspective. But if there was ever a case that we were doing any type of work for any of these funds, it would be more in an outsourcing role. And that in itself would never impair our independence, because those funds will have separate financial auditors. So that creates the barrier for independence. And for everything that we do, so let's say that we went through a process, one of the services that was listed in the appendix here, right? We go through it. We go through and make sure that if we go to execute this engagement, that we ensure our independence, that we stay independent in accordance with AICPA and government auditing standards. So that is typically, that is our process, excuse me. Does that answer your question?
It did. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't hear it in the presentation. I just want to make sure that the committee is aware of, how rigor you are and making sure that you remain independent and that oversight that we provide. On 15 here, with regards to the cost sheet that you have. So the initial readiness assessment, I just want to be clear on this, because you can see like in 26 compared to 27, there's a bump up in 26, but if I heard you correctly, that's because of the initial testing that needs to be done. That's in addition to, or is that the readiness assessment that's going to be performed, the initial readiness assessment, or is the initial readiness assessment a separate cost?
So I believe that there's some leverage to be had between the two, right? Because as a first year audit, you'll already be doing some risk assessment, but the full scope of that initial readiness assessment goes beyond the financial statement audit. It'll be one management one, kind of looking at, right, maybe not just your financial reporting system, but our pension administration system, our IT infrastructure beyond what's, ties to financial accounting. So it might be some overlap, but the full scope of the readiness assessment might be a different fee schedule.
Okay, and so earlier in the presentation, we talked about the internal audit that was paused.
Yes.
And so this initial readiness assessment will cover some of those areas that were listed.
Yes, that's
Correct?
a great
Okay.
point. Yes, the reason we paused it because we recognize, okay, if we have a new auditor come in, right, we can leverage some of the walkthrough they had instead of inundating our FASD and our investment office with multiple walkthrough. We can kind of coordinate and have kind of more bigger walkthrough sessions where we can brainstorm, collaborate. Yeah, so that is part of the idea for the readiness assessment, to include some of that work, right? So you don't look at it from a financial statement perspective, but really help our operation standpoint.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, just so that we all have an understanding of that. And then you mentioned in the IT presentation there, the walkthroughs that you would do, and those topics are big topics. They're organization-wide kind of topics, and so is that limited to the financial systems that you'll be using for the audit process, or organization-wide?
So for the financial audit, it is really those financial applications that drive the financial process and the supporting infrastructure for that.
Mm-hmm.
But as part of that readiness assessment, as stated, we would go beyond the financial audit or the financial reporting applications.
Okay, just so that I just want to make sure we're clear on that as well. And then finally, one last question. It looks like you have a great team that you proposed here, but I did notice that half of them are out of state, and so, or more, I guess, all but one. so kind of explain to us, your approach. Obviously, this takes hands-on kind of work that needs to be performed here. So how, on-site versus virtual type of work that'll be performed? What are kind of your plan for that?
Chris can chime in as well, but we checked to be sure that there's a lot of direct flights between Seattle and Burbank. So that was step one. But no, we're ready to be on site. It's a quick flight away. It's easy to get here as opposed to some other parts of the country or some other locations. So certainly that was in our minds, but we plan to do, especially a lot, the initial readiness assessment have significant on-site time. We prefer to be able to be in person. It's easier to just get an understanding from people, have better communication, have the nonverbal cues, have all of that. So that's part of our plan, to be on site, especially much more year one.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I could just elaborate on that, because this question was asked of me a little bit. Well, I don't know if the question was asked, but really what the approach is, and we were talking about it earlier, is our industry specialization. What we care about, because LACERA is obviously a significant entity, is that we get the right people on this engagement. I don't know if you know this, but we have an office literally across the street from you at 301.
Yeah, I wondered.
I'm sure you did. Like, what are you doing? But we want to bring you the experience. Like, you don't need to be teaching our people what we're doing. Now, what I will tell you is, like, okay, we are now starting our relationship. We will be using people out of the office next door, and we're going to be training them, and we're going to be teaching them about LACERA. There's a state and local government principal over there, and she used to work on CalPERS years ago, but that was years ago. And it was a big part of the census data testing. But that today, and on first year, that's not the right person to bring to lead this type of engagement, right? So that is really what we do. We bring you all the experience, and then we bring other team members along, and we teach them and train them. And if we ever were to transition, we would have the discussion with management and the trustees to say, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're thinking. And we go down that decision path with you. We don't tell you, if that makes sense.
Okay, good. Yep. Thank you.
Excellent questions. Thanks. I'm going to turn it over to Perla for the vote.
First motion was made by Mr. Green, second by Ms. Martinez, and I do a roll call. Ms. Mee?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez? Okay, I'll come back. Mr. Alzo?
Aye.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, thank you
So much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you,
Excited
Ms.
for the
Mee, for
opportunity.
the kind words. It was really a tight timeline when you look at it. Starts in January, we ended in August. But I think organizationally, everyone really participated. I couldn't have done this on my own. So it was a great team effort. Thanks for the recognition. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to then move to verbal updates from our internal auditor and then on to closed session.
What was the first one you mentioned?
You have-
Updates, the staffing report?
Yeah, it's a staffing report.
Well, nothing really to report there. We're fully staffed and just excited to have a full team. Thank you for your support in that regard.
Congratulations.
I think the other item was the audits not being done at the discretion of internal audit or I'm only aware of the claims audits that are being done in RHC. Other than that, there are no other audit projects that we're not responsible for going on in the
Can you
organization.
explain what that is?
So,
RHC?
Retiree healthcare, sorry.
Okay. State? So take. so who-
Retiree healthcare, the program Cassandra Smith runs in the organization. And that
Okay.
is, the claims audits are done by Siegel, their consultant, looking at they've got some claims audits of the Cigna and Blue Cross.
So the insurance companies audit.
They do that
Got it.
annually to do audit. That's some part of the oversight that Siegel provides is auditing the claims.
Perfect.
That's a complex. I went along on one of those. Those claims auditors really know all the diagnosis codes and everything. It's not something that you can just train somebody to do. You have to have worked in claims to really understand it.
Any questions for Mr. Bendel? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and then come back for executive session. Okay, do I have to do my hammer?
Yes, thank you.